how would you just describe the defensive effort and the mindset of the team tonight?
It was a disaster. How else do you say it? I mean, I didn't see the will, didn't see the desire, or the connectivity necessary to get stops and get rebounds. You know, there's still got to be a point where you say enough's enough. You know, if you can make threes, but we're going to make it hard on you. We're not going to give you any rebounds. We're not going to lose our matchups in transition so that you're, wide open, lining it up when you've already made 20 threes in a game.
The Brooklyn Nets abruptly fired Steve Nash on Tuesday, and Kevin Durant summed up all our collective feelings.
Shocked. I mean, you're always shocked when a move like this happens, but it's normal in the NBA.
But let's not forget, over the summer, Kevin Durant wanted Nash and general manager Sean Marks fired. And if there is a moral to this story, it might be that when the star player calls for the coach to be fired, be prepared. Of course, there are tons of reasons why a decision like this is made, and it's worth looking at what was so wrong with the Nets that led to a 1-5 start, and whether Nash had any effect. We could start with Ben Simmons, who's been the object of derision for a while now, and I'd like to give Nash credit for trying different ways to keep such a non-shooter involved in the offense. What was a good concept in theory, having him set a lot of screens both on and off ball to help others get open, turned into a sea of turnovers as he failed to set so many of them properly. Look at his turnover percentage in his career and you'll see an alarming increase. And I hope he figures this out, but it's already way too many so early in the season. But he's not the only culprit that would explain why the Nets' turnover percentage is below average. Kevin Durant is averaging a career high in turnovers per 36 minutes, and what's concerning is that many are happening after getting his bread and butter cuts off of screens. Perhaps in an early season effort to get other guys going, he's been forcing passes into small spaces instead of aggressively trying to shoot his own shot. Another issue is that with the current roster, defenses are loading up on him and willing to ignore most anyone else besides Kyrie. So I don't blame him for trying to make the right play, but if they can't limit possessions like these, their offense will continue to hover around average where it is now. And that's unacceptable when you have two guys averaging around 30 a game. As the offense is set up now, Royce O'Neal is the third creator for their offense, and it strikes me that he should be doing a lot less playmaking and a lot more catch and shoot threes. But with this roster and the Ben Simmons offensive issue, it's all they've got. The NBA season is upon us, and while it's been really fun so far, let's raise it up a notch with my advertising partner DraftKings Sportsbook. They've got a great offer for all their new customers. Sign up with my code BBALLBREAKDOWN, bet $5 on a pregame moneyline wager, and receive an additional $200 in free bets if your bet cashes. Plus, with same-game parlays, you can combine multiple bets with the same game to give yourself a shot at even bigger winnings all season long. For those in a state where sports betting is not yet available, don't forget about DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where they have been innovating even more ways to win some cash this basketball season. I've made it even easier with my special link in the description below, so click on it now and we'll make watching these early season games even more fun with DraftKings Sportsbook. But the real issue with these Nets is the defense. And while Nash can complain that his players aren't giving out effort, they're simply disorganized as a team. And when you see this many miscues happening each game, you kinda gotta look at the coaching staff. What stood out from the footage is their deep troubles with switching, which is a combination of poor communication, but also a lack of defensive discipline. On this step-up screen, Durant clearly plays this as a switch, but Curry is 2 steps behind the action, leading to the three-point shot. When Simmons is guarding the ball screener, there seems to be consistent confusion. He steps up to hedge so it's not a switch, but then lets his man cut behind him for a deep post catch. Watch KD try to get Joe Harris to switch with him so he can be the help defender. Harris can't leave his man under the hoop and they get a great look from downtown. They successfully switched the pick and roll initially, but when the Pacers run Spain with the back screener or the ball screener, both players go to the top of the key and it's an easy layup. They kind of clean it up later in the game, but Simmons does get caught out of position on the switch, but they don't hit the open cutter. That said, because of the switching, it leaves Halliburton with a mismatch, and he happened to be completely on fire in this game. This is my favorite offensive action, but if you're going to switch handoffs, then you've got to be better than Harris was at getting underneath the ball. The help from Claxton is a step late, and it's another dunk. Teams are going to intentionally punish lineups that don't have Durant in there to help out on the weak side. Notice how they intentionally run the ball screen with Claxton's man to bring him out of the lane, and Harris has no chance against the mismatch under the hoop, and Royce O'Neal is too small to rotate to help anyway. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and if you're liking this video, I could really use your help. I'm trying to get to 1 million subscribers. I'm pretty close, and if you can hit that subscribe button, that would really help me out. And stay tuned for lots more coming up on the NBA and basketball in general all season long. Here's another switch they royally screw up off a similar play. Both Claxton and Simmons run to the cutter in the lane. Kyrie gives up on the play as well, and yet another layup given up. This one was a doozy, as a simple baseline out of bounds play lures both defenders to the cutter in the corner. Terrible communication that leads to a dunk. And in case you thought this was a unique mistake, they did the same thing against the Pelicans too. Another pattern is when teams post up, they give up baseline cuts under the basket. It's Royce O'Neal twice and then Claxton in the third one, and I'd commiserate with Nash on these plays since they're professionals and simply should not let this happen. And lastly, we have to look at Kyrie Irving's defense. And I get it, the guy is an offensive machine, so overall, his effect in the game is positive. But when he consistently gambles foolishly, it puts the rest of the defense in scramble mode, often with no way to stop the offense from lighting them up. And if you're the guy who's already got a reputation as not the best teammate, and you're gambling so often and making your teammates try to cover for you, it's going to cause problems. Add to that his distractions around the COVID vaccine last year, and then his awful endorsement of a documentary that spews anti-Semitic tropes in Brooklyn of all places, and you have to think Nash might be happy he got out of there before it got even worse. The three-man lineup of Durant, Irving, and Simmons wasn't working in any sense, and when Simmons would go to the bench, you'd see the team play much better. Perhaps Simmons will continue to shake off the rust of a long layoff and get back to his peak powers. But by that point, this season might already be over for the Nets.